Welcome to the first part of the video series that we'll be doing about the BUL Armory SAS2 Ultimate Racer series of pistols. What we're going to be looking at today specifically is our Optic and Optic Mount. We're going to break this video series into pieces talking about individual parts about this gun so we can spend a little bit more time about the details as opposed to one long video. So without further ado, let's get started. So, like I said, today we are talking about the Optic and Optic Mount featured on the BUL Armory SAS2 Ultimate Racer series of pistols. This specific pistol is the Shorty version of the Ultimate Racer series. There are three different versions. There's the standard, Shorty, and then the F, or full-size frame, or full frame version. And that refers to, or the main difference rather, is the frame size, this lower portion here, and the slide length of those three different guns. We'll talk about those specific differences and the videos that would feature those components where they are different. So looking at the top to bottom, here we go. Looking at the Optic and the Optic Mount. We've got a nice little case on top of it here, protector. That's pretty standard with most optics. A lot of people are curious about this optic, being that BUL Armory is not a US company. They're overseas, so not all the parts and names are always as familiar to people. So this is Nico Sterling brand. This is the Diamond Pro T4. And as I take this off and put some pictures up, it may look very familiar. Basically, this kind of is a version, I don't want to say copy, because it's not really a copy, but a version of the Seymour RTS2. Very, very familiar looking to some people who are familiar with the different red dot optics out there. I did a lot of research about this because there's been a lot of questions, myself included, about the Nico Sterling brand. Are they any good? What is it? Etc., etc. Because again, they're not prime, or not a prime, but they're not a common US name at this time. I did a lot of talking with a couple of my friends that are in the firearms industry, in the wholesale region, and just have a little bit more knowledge, a few more connections. Basically, that's very common to see in the optics world specifically. Glass made somewhere, specifically Nico Sterling's glass is made in Japan. That's very common for the high-end optics. The Japanese glass is looked at as primo. This specific optic may have been designed by a different company other than even Nico Sterling or Seymour. I don't know the answers to that, but it's very common to see twins across the industry, again specifically in optics, where we look at the features, we look at how it looks, and it's basically the same thing. Even on BUL's website, you can see that in the documentation, the mounting pattern for this optic says compatible with Seymour RTS2 optics, or optics that use that platform or mounting pattern. So knowing that, let's talk about some of the features of this optic. We have lockable windage and elevation adjustments, which is very nice. Lock them into place once you're fine-tuned. We have two mounting screws on the top where that mounts to the platform. We have two buttons on the side for our turning on, off, and then the intensity, brightness intensity of the dot. Either button will power on, and press and hold for 3 seconds to turn it off either button again. There's 11 brightness settings, and I've already done some test firing in super bright, snow lit, very bright conditions, basically as bright as you can get, cloud the sky, snow on the ground, highest setting, could see perfectly, no problems at all. A great feature that I like a lot about this, and other people do as well, is the battery tray, as opposed to having to take the optic off and remount it whenever you change your battery, which could change your zero. and you'd have to re-zero that, take some more time to the range, and take some more shots and targets, and a little more time than you might want to spend. But when we have that battery tray on the side, we don't have to move the optic. Just pop that out, replace the battery, which is a CR-2032, which is a super common battery. It's about the size of a quarter. You might even have some lying around as it is if you're in the shooting games or in the shooting sports. A lot of optics use that CR-2032 battery as a standard. So you can easily just have some on hand and pop a new one in every so often. How often you do that is up to you. The battery life is phenomenal on these anyway, but some people will just change them monthly. They'll change them before every match, whatever it may be. So that being said, kind of summarizing this optic is on par with highly respected optics in the industry. It just has a different name, screen printed on top of it. The internals may be a little different. Again, not 100% sure on that, so don't quote me on it, but shares a lot of the same feature sets with other optics that are very well known. So long story short on the optic, very high quality, dependable, really not going to have any problems with it. You can switch it out to something else you may like better that has the Seymour mounting pattern, if you're going to keep the mounting the same, but that can be changed as well. So let's talk about the actual Optic Mount now. As we can see, it does have an integrated thumb rest in it. That's a great feature that you see on all the BUL Armory guns, or the race guns that is. A lot of different guns, different manufacturers, a thumb rest is an addition or an add-on, extra charge, whatever it may be. With BUL Armory, it's standard. That's one of the things I want to emphasize a lot with the BUL Armory pistols is what is an option out of a lot of other guns is standard features on these guns for far less price as well. So this Optic Mount, some of the basic features again, that thumb rest. We have that ramped blast shield to help protect the optic from any blowback from the compensator. So that's nice. Not all Optic Mounts have this, but you'll see more and more with them now. We have a relatively standard mounting pattern on the bottom, so you can check with BUL Armory if you were wanting to change this out for a different Optic Mount for whatever reason on which mounting pattern that is. We got their logo right in there. That's just kind of nice if you care, a little detail. But the more important thing I want to talk about right now is that there are two different optic mounts and thumb rest that BUL Armory features. You can switch between them for no extra charge when you're ordering your gun. This one is standard. This is what they actually call the version 2. I'm not sure what version 1 was, maybe just a generation or two ago. And then their version 3, the thumb rest is back further and more upright. So this one's a little more angled forward and further forward, the other one's further back. Why you would choose one over the other would be two reasons basically. Personal preference of shooting style and or the size of your hands. So with me, I have size large hands, okay? All the gloves I own are size large. So knowing that, hang on, I want to give a reference real quick that can be helpful. You always wonder how big somebody is when they're holding a gun. This is a 170 millimeter magazine. We'll talk about these in a different video. But putting this at the edge of my palm, you can see my hands are about one knuckle at the middle finger longer than that. So maybe 180 millimeters if you want to get out a tape measure and compare so you can see the difference for yourself or how your hands might fit this. So for my personal preference of shooting style and hand size, this thumb rest works very well. I have not tried the other one yet, but I feel like I would get a little crammed up tight in here between the slide racker and that thumb rest. For me, with a more thumbs forward shooting style, this works perfectly. We have a nice long and wide base for that thumb rest, so you might not cover the whole thing. You can see if I have my full grip where my support hand is filling in the rest of that grip, I have most of the end of my thumb on that pad, that thumb rest pad. So some people mistakenly think the thumb rest is there to help for recoil control. While it may and probably does help for recoil control somewhat, a more important feature of that is having a consistent anchor point or reference point for that grip, so your grip is the same every time. You can feel that. There's a little bit of, not really texture, but lines cut in there, so we have a little bit of non-slip there. If you wanted to add some skateboard tape or tail-end grip, rubberized grip in there, you could do that too. Or if you're just chalking your hands, you'll be nice and secure there. So again, 2 different versions of this optic mount. This is called version 2 or V2 and V3, which we'll have pictures up if I didn't put it up there already. You can see the difference in how that is set up there. So that's going to do it for this first installment of our video series about the BUL Armory SAS2 Ultimate Racer series of pistols. We reviewed the optic and the optic mount here. Hopefully I answered any questions you may have had, gave you some more details, some more knowledge of things you might not even had questions about. In the next installment, we're going to be moving our way down, talking about the slide or the upper half of the gun and the feature sets of that and the differences between the 3 different pistols. Thanks for watching today. If you have any other questions, please ask in the comments below, or specifically for me, email is always the best way to get a hold of me. My email is in the description below, and you can get to me right away that way. I hope you learned something today, and thanks for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and have a great rest of your day.